this particular gun right. This video is to help all the new people to the standard, what we call the vintage matrix. Some people refer to this as a DM3. People use the term Gen E matrix. The original version of this gun was from Airtech Diablo. This particular gun right here is a DM3 body. Tell it's a DM3 by the deep cut on the line, on the milling here. I believe the Gen E and everything else ended right about here at the front of the grip frame. This particular gun essentially is a DM3. It does have an eye carrier. It has an evolved gold bolt, which is an upgrade. This gun's got AKA, HPR, and LPR. In my opinion, AKA made the very best regs you could actually buy, period. It's a shame they're not making regs anymore. Some of the best regs in the world, in my opinion. Dye actually copied the design of the Sidewinder, the HPR reg. That's pretty much Dye Hyper 2. So Dye copied this regulator into the Dye Hyper 2, and this is a SCM2, I believe. I don't know if it's the 1 or the 2. Should be the 2 LPR. And the second version of the Dye reg, the smaller little rocket LPR, is pretty much a direct copy of this. Anyways, this was a parts gun. I tossed it all together. At one time it was just a bunch of parts floating around in a box. But nonetheless, we're going to go over a guide for everyone new to the Matrix on how to set up an HPR and an LPR. Step 1, make sure you got the gun. Make sure you got a battery. I use a lot of rechargeable 9-volt. These guns usually will kill a 9-volt if you leave them in there for an extended period of time. I usually don't keep batteries stored in any of my old matrices, so I do have a fleet of 9-volts that I just toss in whenever I'm actually working on one of these guns or whenever I'm going to actually go play with them. And yes, almost all my guns do see use. There are a few that don't get off the wall too often, but in this case, this gun was put together to actually enjoy. Step 1, got my tank screwed in. Since these guns, all the pressure goes through an HPR right away, it doesn't really matter what tank output pressure you have. Back when these came out, 850 was standard. I mean, it still kind of is standard today. I think the output pressure on this tank is about 650 with how I have it shimmed right now. But nonetheless, what we're going to do, turn the marker on. This is I believe this is a Tadao board I have in here. So that represents, obviously, gun is on, it's looking for an eye, or it's looking for paint in the eye. So I'm just going to go ahead, see the eyes work. I like to set my guns up without a breech in. One of the beauties of having a matrix is helps setting guns up a lot easier, in my opinion. You don't have this breech. So, gun's on, no air on the marker yet. I like to make sure my bolt is nice and free. These things are sitting a while. They're going to have some I don't know, let's call it stiction. But she moves nice and free. I think this bolt kit was rebuilt maybe 3 years ago. It's not a lot of use on the rings. We're still talking maybe, I don't know, a couple cases of paint. So, bolt's nice and free. I like to verify that before I gas it up. As I gas her up, no leaks. Obviously, nothing in the eye. We're going to turn the eyes off for this portion. We don't need them. So, here we have a test fire. I can tell, I don't know if it's coming through with the microphones and the audio. There's a slight difference from shot to shot, so the LPR is pretty low. You can hear it a little bit. So the LPR is already pretty light. I'll test it. I'll try to see what kind of pressure we got. Hold the bolt. It doesn't take a lot of pressure for this to bounce off my finger currently. But the gun's cycling. So the next step is going to be actually putting paint in the gun, adjusting the LPR and the HPR. So what we'll do first is adjust the HPR to get kind of to our desired chrono speed. We're going to do it at 280. And then we're going to adjust the LPR to balance out the chrono. What I mean by that is we're going to see some variances. The lighter the LPR pressure is, depends how much stiction's on the ring, depends on the temperature, depends on a bunch of different variables out there. But we're just trying to get the chrono reading to be pretty smooth. Since this gun's got eyes in it, we got vision. I'm not worried about chopping paint. So we're going to be worried about setting the LPR up so the gun runs as efficiently as possible. I'll have an aid of barrel cam, chrono numbers. I'm going to shut the gun down during this assembly time. Okay, turn the gun back on, eyes are on, let's throw a hopper on her, there we go, and here's the chrono we're going to be using. It's just a old school, I don't even know who makes it anymore, paintball chronograph, forgot what it's actually called. Last time I knew these were still available to be purchased. It's not a virtual clock, but I'm not trying to get BPS readings. We don't care. All we care about is good consistent chrono speed, and this thing does a pretty good job. Another thing to point out, another reason I love AK regs, we got the exact same Allen key for the HPR and the LPR. Makes my life a lot easier. So for testing purposes today, got ourselves some old ass Valken, I think it's Redemption. It's a white shell, white fill. This stuff's probably 3 years old. Like legitimately 3 years old. Maybe even older. Now I've got my barrel cam turned on, so we get some, you guys should actually see my chrono numbers. Got the hopper turned on, got the gun turned on, blue light, solid, seems we're seeing paint. If I don't get any readings on here, my fat digits covered up part of the radar system on this. Shot one. 209. 195. So we're going to raise the pressure a tad. Might have went too far. Let's see. 309. 315. Definitely went a little too far. So let's back it off a notch. So we're going to go in slightly. Alright. 250. 233. So we're going to go out slightly. Don't take much. 233. 226. Go out slightly again. All right. That was 298. 292. Fingers in the way. 297. I'm going to go in slightly. Gave it maybe a 1/16 of a turn. 286. 236. 238. 251. So before I do anything else, that LPR pressure is super light. I'm going to give it just a smidge in. I think it's going to balance the chrono reading out a little bit better. It's going to also raise my HPR level slightly, I believe. Alrighty. There we go. 261. 256. 254. Alrighty. I'm just going to slightly bump HPR pressure. So I'm going out slightly. $308, $297, $314. So let's go back in a smidge. $270, $270, $273, $267, no shot, $270. So the LPR, I believe, is set pretty damn good. Just getting your HPR right where you want it. A little bit goes a long way. I just barely bumped it. $302, $293, $285, $285, $287. It's perfect. Alright, got quite a bit of paint in there. Let's rip it a little stream here, shall we? Okay, we're grabbing some more paint. Got an extra pod here. We're going to go ahead, fill her up. And let's shoot some ropes in the backyard. Gun set at, what, 10.5. So it's not going to be too crazy. See how she does with the eyes off. Turn the eyes off. Let's have a little fun. Eye is off. You also see the eye is off. Mm.